All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about a forgotten but absolutely critical moment in American history. We're talking about a time when the young United States took this massive, high-stakes gamble, an economic war that went so wrong, it literally tore the country apart from the inside. And listen to this quote. This is from President Thomas Jefferson himself. Now, does that sound like a leader who's got things under control? No way. He's describing a nation that's at its breaking point. He's saying people were more unified in their anger right then than they were at the start of the entire Revolutionary War. Wow. That single quote just throws us right into the middle of a national crisis. So you've got to ask yourself, what on earth could have happened to get people so fired up? And why would a president choose a path that was basically an economic war on his own citizens? Well, the answer isn't in some stuffy political office. It all starts out at sea. So what was the spark that lit this whole national powder keg? It was this incredibly embarrassing, violent showdown on the water, right off the American coast, an incident that felt like a slap in the face to the entire country. Okay, let's break this down because the details here are just wild. Picture this. June 22nd, 1807. The British warship HMS Leopard hails the American warship, the USS Chesapeake. Standard procedure, right? No big deal. But then, a British officer boards the American ship and demands to search it for deserters. And the American Commodore, James Barron, is like, no way, this is an American warship, you can't do that. So the British just open fire. The crazy part is, the Chesapeake was a sitting duck. Its guns weren't ready, its decks were a mess. They fired one single shot before they had to surrender. 3 Americans dead, 18 wounded, a total absolute humiliation on their own doorstep. 4. That's how many guys the British took. After the American ship surrendered, British forces boarded and just seized 4 crewmen. They said they were deserters, but honestly, at that point, who cared? The bottom line was this: a foreign navy just attacked a U.S. warship right off the coast and kidnapped American sailors. Back on land, people went absolutely ballistic. And it wasn't just one political party either. Everybody was furious. The whole country was screaming for war. They felt like the nation's honor had been spit on, and they wanted payback. But President Jefferson, he had a different playbook in mind. So instead of declaring war, Jefferson decides to roll the dice on this wild, totally untested idea. He's thinking, we're not going to fight them with ships and guns, we're going to fight them with our wallets. He was going to cut them off completely. And this right here was his weapon, the Embargo Act of 1807. And I really need you to understand how extreme this was. This wasn't just no trading with Britain. This was no trading with anyone, period. Imagine that. Every single port in America just shut down. Silence. So, what was the big idea? Jefferson called it peaceable coercion. Basically, he believed Europe, especially Britain, needed American stuff, our cotton, our food, so badly that if we cut them off, they'd have to cave and start respecting us. You know, it was a way to win a war without firing a shot. A bold move, for sure. Yeah, well, it didn't work. Not even a little bit. It was a complete and total disaster that backfired immediately. It hurt America way, way more than it ever hurt Britain or France. People hated it so much they came up with a nickname for it, the Dambargo. I mean, just look at this chart. The numbers are staggering. So in 1807, the U.S. is exporting $108 million worth of stuff. 1 year later, boom, down to $22 million. That's not a dip. That's a cliff dive. The entire export economy, just gone, vanished, overnight. And the public got pretty creative with their anger. Try spelling embargo backwards. You get, oh, grab me. Get it? And that name stuck, thanks to this famous cartoon. You see the snapping turtle, the oh, grab me, literally biting an American merchant. It was the perfect image, right? It showed everyone exactly how they felt. This law wasn't hurting our enemies, it was attacking us. And look, these weren't just numbers on a page. This was real people's lives getting destroyed. Think about it. Every sailor, every dock worker, suddenly out of a job. Merchants who were rich one day were bankrupt the next. I mean, they had to open soup kitchens in places like Portland, Maine, just so people could eat. All up and down the coast, crops were rotting, businesses were failing. It was a nightmare, and it was all self-inflicted. So what do you think happens when you pass a law that basically makes it impossible for people to feed their families? You guessed it, they break the law. The entire northern border with Canada, the whole New England coast, it became smuggler's paradise. And we're not talking about a couple of guys in a rowboat here. This was massive, widespread. People were doing it right out in the open. This wasn't organized crime. It was organized communities. Just regular folks saying, nope, we're not going to starve, and openly defying the government to survive. And things got intense. Really intense. Check out this story from Maine. It's just bonkers. A group of 15 armed guys in disguise break into a jail. But they're not there for just any smugglers. They're there to free guys who are up for murder. They've killed a guard. That just tells you everything you need to know about how the locals felt. To them, these guys weren't murderers. They were heroes fighting an unjust law. And boy, were they clever. They used the thick Maine fog as cover. They snuck ships out of harbors in the dead of night. And get this, there was one time a smuggler ship, the Sally, got into a literal shootout with a government ship, and the whole town was on the shore cheering for the smugglers as they got away. Can you imagine? The government guys didn't stand a chance. They were getting bribed, threatened. It was basically an open rebellion. So let's call it what it was. Jefferson's grand experiment was a complete, spectacular failure. It wrecked the economy, it turned people against their own government, and the worst part, it didn't even work. Britain and France just shrugged. And when that happens, you start running out of options. So here's how it all played out. 1807, the embargo starts. By 1809, after just 15 months of this self-inflicted chaos, they finally give up and repeal it. But it's too late. The original problem with Britain never went away. So with every other option a total failure, there was only one thing left to do. In 1812, America declared war on Great Britain. The great irony is, the one thing Jefferson was trying to avoid with the embargo is exactly where it led them. And that's what leaves us with this huge, lingering question, one that's just as important today. Can you ever really win by punching yourself in the face to scare your enemy? Because when you think about modern trade wars and economic sanctions, you're seeing the ghost of Jefferson's embargo. It's this powerful, painful lesson that sometimes the most dangerous enemy a country can face is itself.